Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the Palmrest keyboard assembly on this 13-inch MacBook Pro model A1502 early 2015. Alright, so I have other videos showing how to replace just the battery or just the keyboard, so if you want to see those and you can't find it on my channel, just let me know and I'll send you a link. But this is going to be an entire Palmrest assembly replacement. This is a lot easier than replacing just the keyboard, so if you're not as skilled or more worried about working on it, you might want to opt for this route. The only thing with this route is the battery is going to be used because you can't really get a brand new keyboard Palmrest assembly. I don't think Apple will sell you that. You might be able to find someone that will sell you it that they replace the battery in, but you won't have like a genuine Apple battery, which shouldn't be an issue, but yeah. Alright, anyways, let's go ahead and remove this cover. We're going to use a P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screwdriver to remove the bottom screws. You want to keep them in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that is I put them flat side down like this on my desk in the pattern I remove them, so you have this rectangular shape, and we're just going to put them like that. These two back here are shorter than the rest, so if you already messed up and mixed them all together, keep in mind the back two here are shorter than all the rest, okay? So anyways, we're going to get all these screws out now. Alright, if this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. These are customer computers, so keep that in mind. I won't have these computers by the time you see these videos. Alright, but yeah, we're going to continue taking things apart. Alright. Okay, so we got all those screws out. Let's go ahead and pop the bottom cover off. Okay, there are some clips, so if you notice, I was kind of wobbling it like that. Oh, it looks like this one, the clip is actually broken. We're just going to put that in here. Okay, so the screws are supposed to hold this, but it looks like a piece of this plastic is actually broken on here. But yeah, so we're just going to take that out. Actually, the replacement is going to have that, so we don't need to worry. Here you can see the inside is pretty gross. It's very dusty in here, so I am going to have to take this outside and clean it up, and then I will be back afterwards. Wow, this is really gross. Look at the fan in there. So it's actually worse in person. The camera looks like it kind of smoothens some stuff out. Here you can see the fan is completely clogged. Look at all those hairs. I don't know, maybe cat hair or something. But wow. Okay, and all the battery and everything. So that's pretty bad. Good thing the replacement comes with most of this. So when you buy the entire keyboard assembly, let me show you what it looks like. So you get the keyboard and the Palmrest like this with the trackpad. Sometimes they'll rip the battery out and maybe the trackpad, but in this case it has the keyboard and the trackpad. Usually they won't include this, but it looks like they have that here, and also the charge port. So a lot of times they won't come with a charge port or this piece. Most of them will come with the battery and the charge cable, or not the charge cable, the trackpad cable. So keep that in mind. Alright, so anyways, we're going to clean this up and we'll be back. Alright, see you guys in a bit. Alright, I'm back. So we cleaned it up. All this stuff is kind of stuck on there, so kind of just left it as is. This piece, because there's no electronics, I actually just washed it off with some water. So here you can see it's a lot cleaner now. Alright, there was some brown stuff all stuck on there, but it's all cleaned off. Alright, here you can see the fan. It's so much cleaner now. There's still some stuff in it, but it's like more fine dust that I can't really get off. But you can see the fan propellers are so much cleaner now, and then the heatsink is a lot cleaner. I should probably brush that a little bit. So let's see. Okay, it's kind of stuck there, but all right, it's a lot better. Okay, so pretty much we're going to transfer over the screen and the whole motherboard here. The keyboard, or sorry, the battery and everything else we can leave. First thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. Let me zoom in here. Okay, so the battery's like this. You just get underneath. Oh, it looks like somebody actually even broke this battery connector. So I guess it's a good thing we're replacing the whole battery and everything. This battery actually looks like lumpy. It's hard to pick it up in camera, but you can see it's kind of lumpy here and it's like inflated. So replacing the battery will actually be a good thing as well. All right, so let's go ahead and pop this out. Normally I start from the right, but that side's broken, so we're gonna start from the left, and we're just gonna work our way over and pull that connector out. So there we go, we got the battery disconnected. All right, after that, we're just going to open up the MacBook and then press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds to drain any residual power. This will make it a lot safer to work on, especially if you're gonna be removing the screen. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, been about 5 seconds or so. Hold it for another less than 10 seconds. All right, some people ask me if they need to do this. Technically, you don't need to do anything, but it does make it a lot safer. And if you don't, there's a good chance you can damage a multi-$100 part, so might as well do it. All right, next thing we're gonna do is remove these rubber covers. We're gonna actually take the screen out first. So this has some adhesive underneath. Normally the adhesive is here, so that's kind of weird. I guess it's on this side. So I'm going to get the screwdriver, go underneath, and just lift it up. Oh, maybe it is on that side. Okay, it's just it wasn't sticking on well. So we're going to get underneath and lift that up. And here we go. So you got the this rubber piece out with that adhesive. We're going to do the same thing with this side. So same thing. It's usually on this side, but let's see. Okay, so we're going to get the screwdriver here in between the screws, lift it up. I'm pushing down on the rubber as I lift it up, so that way we can get that out. And yep, there you go. You can see the adhesive and this rubber. Okay. So again, make sure that you did open up the computer, press and hold the power button for 15 seconds before you mess with this cable. We're going to disconnect the screen now. I'm going to zoom in so you can see a bit better. Sorry I didn't do that with the rubber parts. So we're going to flip up this metal latch. If you can actually get underneath the plastic and do it, but I find it's easier to just go under a corner like that with my fingernail. You can use plastic pry tools, of course. And then once you do that, you just grab the sides of the connector and then pull it back just like this. And there we go, we got the screen disconnected. All right, we're going to go over here to the Eyesight camera, webcam, whatever you want to call it. We're going to remove that. Let's go ahead and actually take this rubber piece out as well, so you can actually flip these back and then you can pull this out as well, and it just holds in place with these rubber pieces that kind of open up. All right, we're going to set that aside. Okay, so now let's go ahead and remove the antennas and the camera. So the antennas are easier, so we're going to do that first. Just go underneath where the tail is and you just pull it straight up just like that. I like to use both fingernails to go in the middle like that and just pull it up. Okay, and there we go, we have the antennas disconnected. Now we're going to disconnect the Eyesight camera. It helps to kind of pull this cable up first because they use an adhesive to hold it down. You don't want to fold this cable over, so you want to be careful. Try and keep it as flat as possible. Okay, and we're just going to slowly pull it up. It helps to kind of pull it that way as you peel it up, so just like this. Okay, and you can see the camera cable is slowly peeling off. And then I'm going to hold over here so I don't accidentally yank the cable out when there's no more adhesive. There we go. And to remove this connector can be a little tricky. You kind of want to walk it out. So I use my fingernails here at the wings of the connector, and you just go like left, right, and slowly walk it out. And there you go. The connector came out. If you don't have fingernails, it's a little bit more difficult. You can use like plastic tweezers or something. If you use anything metal, be careful that you don't scratch the motherboard there. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, since we got all of this out, we're going to now open up the screen. Let me zoom out a bit. I don't know if I'll be able to show this. You're probably going to see all the junk all over my desk, but it's whatever. So we're going to open up the screen all the way. This is basically how you would do a screen replacement as well. Okay, so this is basically the screen replacement part. Okay, so we're going to the screen's open all the way, and what I'm doing is I'm hanging the screen off the edge of my desk like this. Okay, so screen's off the edge of my desk, and then you got the keyboard laying flat on the desk. And then we're going to use a T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. Sorry, we're also going to need a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Let's go ahead and remove those first. So there's these smaller metal brackets here that are being held in place with T5 or Torx 5 screws. So we're going to remove that screw, okay? And then we can actually lift that metal bracket out. It helps to use like some small tweezers or pliers, and then you can grab this piece and you can kind of just lift it up. Why is it stuck? There we go. So it looks like this, okay? And that just holds the thing in place, so if the hinges break, it will, the screen actually still stays there. Okay, we're going to do that on both sides. There's another one over here. Okay, just remove the screw. I like to hold the screw in place once I undo it all the way. Grab the little thing and wiggle and pull it out, and there we go. Okay, so usually I would remove these when the screen is closed, but because I already got to this point, I'm just going to leave it. Alright, we're going to switch back over to the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver, and we're going to remove the 3 screws from each hinge. Okay, let's go ahead and remove those 6 screws. I'm going to switch these all over so I don't get confused. Okay. Alright, so go ahead and remove the 6 hinge screws. Just like this. Okay, got those 3, and then we're going to get the other 3 out now, right here. Okay. And the last one. Okay, now that we got all 6 screws out, what we're going to do, you just let so right now the screen's open all the way. We're going to let it drop about 90 degrees, and then we can go ahead and lift the screen assembly out just like that. So there we go. We got the screen out. We're going to set that aside. Let's go ahead and zoom in and continue removing everything else. Okay, so we're going to flip it back over this way. Okay. And let's go ahead now and remove everything else. I believe everything else comes out with the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to it. So the wireless card, 1 screw here. Let me actually zoom in so you can see everything I'm working on close up. All right. Okay, it's a little bit difficult to work on with everything zoomed in like this, but I'll do what I can. All right, remove this 1 screw. Once you've removed that screw, get underneath and lift it up. You want to lift it slowly. There's a thermal pad holding it. All right, here you can see now it's sticking up. That's why it has all this kind of greasy looking stuff. That's from the thermal pad. All right, now that you're holding this slightly up, we're going to just wiggle and pull it back just like this. And there we go. We got the wireless card out, and here you can see the thermal pad. I'm actually going to clean this off because it does have some gross stuff on it. So let me do that, and I'll be back. See you guys in a bit. Alright, I'm back. So here you can see, clean that up. It's a lot cleaner. Alright, you don't have to worry about it being perfect. It works even with all that stuff all over it. Okay, now we're just going to go in. It doesn't matter the specific order. We're going to leave the SSD attached because we don't need to remove that. But we're just going to remove all the screws we need to replace the motherboard. Okay, so, or to swap the motherboard over to the new case. Again, keep all the screws in order because they are different size, shape, and lengths. Again, I put the flat side down to in the pattern I remove them. Okay, I want to just make sure we have all the screws in here. All right, so we don't even have to remove that one. That's nice. Okay. Oh, wait. Never mind. I thought they also had a speaker in there. Okay, so we're gonna remove all the screws for the fan now here. The fan is actually tucked underneath this heatsink, so you technically don't have to remove all the fan screws, but you do need to remove these 2. Okay, so we're going to remove those 2 screws. Again, keep them all in order. Okay, you don't want to get them mixed up. Okay, hopefully all the screws for the other parts are in place so I don't have to worry about them. Yep. Alright, get that screw out. Okay, hopefully you can see everything I'm doing. Alright, so we're leaving this screw so that way it's attached to the motherboard when we take it out. Alright, we're going to get this screw here. If you want to see how to remove the fan, again, I have other videos where I take apart this whole laptop. So if you want to see that, I have videos showing that as well. Alright, let's get this screw out here. Okay, that one's slightly higher. Okay, let's go ahead and remove this metal bracket here. Alright, just like this. Okay, now that we got those 2 screws out, we're going to remove this metal plate. Set that aside. All right, we're going to now pop this connector up. I just go on opposite corners like this, and I kind of just wiggle and pull it. All right, if you want, you can peel this cable up slightly to give yourself a little more room to work with. Technically, this trackpad and trackpad cable are fine. It's just the keyboard that's bad. So it can be reused eventually, or you can sell it for parts or something. But anyways, let's go ahead and disconnect this cable. So same thing, opposite corners, wiggle and pull. There we go. And now we got that out. All right. So we're also going to remove the speaker, of course. So the speaker, oh, let me zoom out a little bit. The speaker has 3 screws holding it in place. Oops. Sorry. There we go. So let's go ahead and remove those 3 screws. All right. Again, keep all the screws in order. Each screw in the speakers are different, so keep that in mind. Again, you don't want to just throw all these screws in a container or bucket unless you work on these all the time and you memorized each type of screw. Okay, so same thing with the other side. I'm going to remove the 3 screws for this speaker. Oh, and I have another customer on the way, so give me a second. I need to respond to them and I'll be back. Let me actually finish removing these speakers so you can kind of see, and then I'm going to respond to that customer. Let's zoom out a little bit more here. Okay, so we got the speaker. What you do is lift from this side. Okay, I just get underneath like that, lift it up, rotate it slightly, and then we're gonna swing it over this way, get the cable over the top, and then I usually will use my fingernail, but what you can do, you can use a small thin tool like this, get underneath, and then you want to get underneath the center of the connectors, and you kind of just wiggle to pull it up, and there we go. So the way this is working, let me zoom in to show you a bit better. So basically the tool slides in under this little notch here in the connector, and then when you twist it, it just pops it out. Okay, so that's how you get that out. All right, so let me respond to my customer real quick and I'll be back. I'm gonna also clean this speaker up because it's pretty gross. Okay, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, I'm back. So we cleaned out the speaker a bit. So here you can see it's a lot better. Sorry, I know it's wobbling a lot. Okay, we're gonna set that aside. Okay, let's go ahead and remove the other speaker. So we already removed the screws. Let me see if I'm zoomed in too much. Let me zoom out. Okay, zoom out more and more. There we go. Okay, so we're gonna pull this speaker out. Same thing, lift it up from here. And then you can move that. The wire is held in with a little bit of adhesive, so you gotta peel it up. Right, then we'll get to the connector here. And same idea, I know this cable's in the way, so it's hard to see. The same idea, we're just going to get this thin tool, get it underneath that connector. All right, in between, and then you kind of just twist it, and there we go. All right, we got that speaker out. We'll set that aside. Okay, we're getting there, guys. So let's see, what else do we need to remove? I don't know if I need to zoom in more for you guys, or if it's good enough like this. Okay, so let me get my T5 screwdriver again. Okay, so we got all of that. We got the... Now let's go ahead and continue removing motherboard screws. So we got the 2 over here. So now we're going to get this screw up here. Okay, just remove that screw. Okay, got another screw down here. Take that off. All right, there we go. Okay, then we got this connector down here. It's a microphone, so let's zoom in and see if I can show you this. I have a lot of stuff all over my desk, so it's a little bit difficult to show, but anyways, we're gonna pull this little plastic tab back. We're gonna flip this latch up, all right, just like that, and then we're gonna pull this connector out. You might have to wiggle it a little bit. All right, so I'm just using my hand and just wiggling this. If you can't get it out that way, you might have to use some little tweezers and grab a hold of that, but there you go, we got that disconnected. That's the microphone connector. Okay, we're going to disconnect the charge port connector here. So I'm just going to grab that, and then you kind of just grab this and kind of just wiggle it. Okay, just like this, and there we go, it pops out. Okay, we got one more screw here, and you also have the keyboard backlight connector there. We're going to pop the keyboard backlight connector out. So same thing, I just used my fingernail. Again, you can use plastic pry tools. Okay, so we'll lift that and move that out of the way. And we got this screw. We'll remove that as well. Okay, there we go. And I think that's all the screws. We have a few more connectors to disconnect. We have the keyboard connector here. So pull that plastic back, flip this latch, okay, and then we can grab that and wiggle to pull this out. There's no specific order you need to disconnect these cables. The main thing is disconnecting the battery and holding the power button before you mess with any of these other stuff. All right, the power button is linked with the keyboard, so keep that in mind. All right, then we have that one other cable underneath here. No, this cable's in the way. But basically you just pinch these two edges here, and then you can go ahead and pull this cable out, okay? And just use my fingernails to do that. Pinch it and wiggle and pull it out, and there we go. We got that connector loose, and there we go. Okay, I think we got everything out that we need to get out, so let's go ahead now and lift the motherboard out. So let's zoom out here. Okay, and we're gonna lift the motherboard up. You want to be very careful. You don't want to pull from this, because if you bend this, you can damage the fan. So I like to go from over here, this corner where you can get underneath the motherboard itself. Once you do that, you can actually grab the entire thing, just like this. Okay. If you want, you can take all these cables out to make it easier to work on. And then you want to make sure the battery connector's out of the way. Okay. I'm going to slowly continue lifting this up, just like this. Okay, and slowly pull this out. So here you can see the bottom of the motherboard isn't too dirty. We are gonna brush off the dust anyways just to clean it up, but here you can see that's the bare keyboard assembly with a few extra components, of course, because normally when you get this keyboard assembly, you'll have this. Oftentimes they'll take out the battery, but they'll usually leave the trackpad, but sometimes you'll just get this keyboard with the Palmrest and they'll have no battery and no trackpad. Keep that in mind, because if you do have to transfer the battery over, it's a huge pain and you could actually easily damage the battery in the process. So if you do have to replace the battery, be prepared to get a new battery just in case. Okay? Keep that in mind. And then these components, usually it won't come with that either. So yeah. All right. So depending what you're ordering, make sure to take a close look at it, see what comes with it. And yeah, other than that, let's go ahead and get the replacement. We're going to take a look, make sure we got all the components we need in here. Keyboard backlight, all right, charger, microphone, battery, keyboard, trackpad, and that looks good. All right, so we're going to set this used old one aside, and we got this. And of course this is also used, it's pulled from another computer, but it's in better condition. All right, and we're just going to swap the motherboard over again. Let me clean the dust off the keyboard or the motherboard first, and I'll be back. It's actually called a logic board because there's no additional, well, I guess technically there's this board here, but most of the time now they call it a logic board because most of the stuff like these components are integrated. All right, anyways, let me go ahead and clean it off and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. So one other thing, normally there's a foam thing running across here, but that kind of fell off, and it looks like they had some liquid damage here at one point. You can see there's some green corrosion stuff there. That's usually from copper being oxidized. I just noticed that. Let me actually try and clean that a little bit as well. Sorry, I'm just holding this over a trash can and brushing it with a toothbrush. Okay, I mean, some of that green stuff came off. I don't know if those ports are even working or not. The customer didn't ask for a repair on those, so that's not what we're working on. But as you can see, I cleaned off a bunch of the green stuff that was in there. It's still a little bit green, but anyways, let's put this back together. So here you can see this screw is still holding this fan intact or into the assembly. But yeah, all right, let's get this back in. We're gonna swing it over. You do have to put it at an angle. It's a little tricky to do because there's all these cables that you have to make sure that they stay up and out of the way. Keep that in mind. You don't want to smash any of these cables underneath, so make sure that you are getting them all out of the way as you put this back into place. So the main two that are more difficult to keep out of the way are the battery and the microphone, so make sure to hold on to those. All right, once you get that in at an angle, okay, then you want to also make sure these metal tabs are going underneath. And then to line it up, you line up the headphone jack on the side here. So you want to make sure the headphone jack lines up and is coming out through that hole. And then you can slowly lower it down. Again, all these cables are going to want to go underneath, so you do have to make sure to lift them up and get them back on top. Okay, especially the keyboard one because it's so short. You will have to use something to pull that out, so I just use this little tool. Okay, let me get from this other side. And we're going to lift the keyboard connector out. Alright, slowly lowering it down. It is caught on something, I'm not sure what. Okay, I think the battery connector. So I'm going to slowly lower this into place. What else is getting caught on here? For some reason it's not sitting down easily. You don't want to force this down. Okay. So, okay, this isn't sitting in all the way. Okay, there we go. So now we got that in. The keyboard thing fell back under, so we're going to have to get it back out again. Okay. Alright, and there we go. Now it dropped into place nicely. Again, you want to make sure that the headphone jack is lined up, so I kind of use these raised metal cover things to help pull it over. And then here you can see now the headphone jack is lined up properly. Okay, so that's the main one, and now let's go ahead and get these screws back in. All right, very straightforward. Let me zoom in a bit more. Okay, and I'll try and go to show you all the screws that go back into place. All right, again, make sure that the board is held into place, and then go ahead and get these screws in. So we'll get that corner one in first. Okay, and we can go ahead and plug this back in, just get it lined up. All right, come on. Get it lined up, and then pinch both pieces together, just like this. All right, and then you can go ahead and stick that down if it's still sticky. Let's get the two screws over here. So we got this motherboard screw here, and this one over here. I think the reason they call it logic board now is because the RAM and the processor is soldered into it, and then maybe also sometimes the SSD on some of the newer ones. All right, let's actually get in all these other little connectors. I'm going to zoom in to make it a little bit easier to see. Keyboard backlight connectors right here. So if the keyboard backlight isn't working, it's because of this connector. Okay, get that lined up. Go and click that in. Good. Then we got the microphone connector here. I'm going to get that. Okay, a lot of times this plastic thing sticks to the connector, so you have to make sure to separate the pieces. So hold on to that plastic stuff and then peel it away. There we go. Alright, then you just get that connector lined up. I know it's hard to show this, my finger's probably going to get in the way, but get that lined up, and then you can use the plastic tab to help pull it. Once you get it in, then you just flip that latch down, and there we go. So here you can see the white line that was on there is now kind of hidden underneath here. So we'll stick that back on top. Let's zoom out a bit, and let's actually get the speaker into place. So here we go. Okay, so speaker, you put in at an angle like this to get this cable underneath, right? Then you just roll it over, okay? And then get this lined up, click that into place, and there we go. Get those three screws back in. Very easy to get this speaker in, right? Not like all the new models where they use some glue, okay, or double stick adhesive. Those are a huge pain, all right? And I loosely fit the screws first until I get all three in, and then we can go ahead and tighten the others. All right, there we go. Okay, let's move on over. So we got that. Let's go ahead now. Let's zoom in a bit and do the keyboard connector. Let's see if I can show this clearly or not. Same thing, peel up the plastic piece. This one can be a little tricky. I usually will use my fingernail to pull the connector back. All right, I don't know if you can see, so I will use that to pull it back. And then once it passes the connector, you can let go and it will usually slot itself into place if you're doing it right, if you get it in the right spot. So as you can see, this is kind of a pain. I'm trying to make it visible to you guys, which is making it harder. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and then hopefully you guys get the idea. Okay, so let me do that. Okay, pull that all back. Is it not going far back enough? I think it's not going back far enough. Okay, there we go. All right, so make sure to pull it all the way back, and there we go. So got that connector in, and then we're going to flip that latch down and then put this adhesive back on top. It will probably just peel itself back up, but whatever. All right, then we got to get this connector. This is the trackpad connector. So if your trackpad isn't working, either this isn't connected, this cable's damaged, or your trackpad is bad. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and do this. I have to kind of push it a little bit down this towards the battery, and then there we go. Click that into place. Good. We have this cable that's underneath here, so don't forget that one. Okay. All right, just get that into place. Come on, get in there. There we go. Once you get it lined up, again, same thing, pinch the two together. There we go, and it clicks into place. All right, let's get the other speaker over here. Zoom out a bit here so you guys can see better. All right, so same thing with the other speaker. Just put it slightly at an angle like this, and then drop it down. We're gonna get the 3 screws in first. Okay. Just like this. Okay, and here you can see the information for the battery. Most sellers won't do this, but here you can see this battery had 471 charge cycles on it, 5,695 milliamp hours, and then you can see it's about 87% capacity from original brand new battery. This is likely a lot better than their old battery. They didn't ask for a battery replacement, but this came with it, so yeah, so this battery is a lot better than their other one that's all bubbly and like dented and stuff. So, all right, so let's go ahead and get this back into place. So we got this. We're going to just line that back up and then click that back down like the other speaker. Now let's get this cable lined up. Okay, and then we're just going to push that back into place. Sorry, it's not zoomed in as much as it should be, but there we go. All right, now we're just going to put the metal plate or tab, whatever you want to call it, back on top, this thing that holds those connectors down, and we'll get those screws back in. And we've been using a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. They're all pretty much the same, the top, but the screws are all different. So again, you want to be careful. Hopefully you guys kept them all in order. Okay, we'll get those 2 screws in. Perfect. Now we're going to get all these other screws in. So we have these 2 screws, 2 more screws for the motherboard here, or the logic board, whatever you want to call it. Okay, put that one in, and this one in. I don't know what that stuff is that's stuck back here. Let me clean that a little. Okay. All right, so we're going to go over here, get that screw in. Oh, it's not completely 100% lined up, so I'm going to loosen the screw over here. And we're going to move the fan over a little bit. There we go. Okay, then we can now tighten that screw into place. And we can tighten this screw down. All right, so now we got the heatsink screw up here, so you can get that in. If you want, you can put the rubber piece back in first, so that way it's a little bit more of a gap to make it easier to put in. But this thing, you just basically get the back part in first, slide it in, and then the front side, flip it up like that. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. Flip it up slightly, and then just like that, okay? Got one more screw for the fan right here. Tighten that down into place. we go. So now we got all 3 screws here. All that's left now is the wireless card and the screen, and then we got to connect the battery, of course. So let's go ahead and get the wireless card back in. Goes in at an angle, pinch the 2 together just like this. Okay, let it drop down. Okay, then we'll get this screw back in. All right, now let's go ahead and get the screen. I think we got everything else reconnected. Again, if you are replacing with all of this, make sure you get all these things back in as well. All right, we're gonna flip this over here. And we're gonna go zoom out again so that we can get the screen back in. Zoom out. Wow, I have to zoom out a lot to see this. Okay, let's zoom out some more. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the screen now. Okay. Let me brush off the little hinges a little bit. They're a little dusty. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, hold these cables up out of the way. I use my fingers like that. Then we're just gonna drop that into place. Okay, just like that. Hold the screen up. And then now we're gonna switch to the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. And we're going to get these screws back in. I like to add thread locker to make sure that these screws don't come loose. So we're going to do that. First, what I'm doing is I'm just getting these center screws in. Okay, once I got those in, I'm going to lift it up and slowly, carefully close the screen. You want to do this slowly in case it's not lined up right. You don't want it to get caught on something and damage. So I'm going to now loosen these screws a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line this up. You can actually see a gap in the center here. So I'm going to line those up to try and be as centered as possible. You can also line up the edges here using your fingers. Just feel to make sure that they're not like aligned kind of weird. Since they have this case on theirs, it's a little bit difficult to tell. So I'm mainly lining it up with this back plastic piece here. Okay. There we go. There we go. Okay. So that looks lined up now. And part of their plastic's broken, so it's a little bit, I can line it up with that side. Okay, so we're going to now tighten these screws down. And then what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and actually put the Eyesight or webcam cable in first and the wireless antennas. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this cable in. It's going to go underneath the rubber piece. So get that lined up. And then same thing, I kind of like to work left, right, like wiggling this into place. Okay. And then make sure it's pinched in all the way. There we go. And then you can actually push the adhesive down. Okay. All right, make sure that rubber piece is in place. And next we have the wireless antennas here. Make sure this goes over there. I'm going to actually put a screw here to hold that in place so it doesn't keep moving around. Okay, so hold the cable down and then this goes on top. So I'm just loosely fitting it right now. Alright, so now the wireless antennas. To put these, you just want to make sure that when you get them in to line them up right because they are fragile. You'll know because now you see if I'm tugging this, it stays in place. Then you can go ahead and push that down. Right, we're going to do that for all 3. So let's go to the other 2. Same thing, get it lined up. You can see if I move it, it stays on the connector. Then we can go ahead and push it down. Last one. Okay, click that into place. There we go. We got the wireless antennas all in. Let's go ahead now and start adding some thread locker to these screws. Okay, I like to use the red one, but you don't need too much. Some people were like flooding it. You don't want to do that. You just want very little. So just get the screw like this. I don't know if you can even see. It's kind of blurry and it's hard for me to pay attention while I'm doing this. Just like that. All right, where's that? Just a little bit, not a crazy amount. All right, not a big drop. Okay, so we're going to do that with all 6 screws here. And this will prevent those screws from coming loose, because if those screws come loose, you can actually damage the hinges. So You want to make sure that those are holding tight. Okay, so we're just going to do that. I know, sorry, you can only see my hand right now, but hopefully you get the idea. Get the other screw back out. Okay, and get that screw back in. Okay, let's get the other 3 screws, or I guess other 2, but we still have to add thread locker to the third one. So let's go ahead and get this. Get that screw in, just like that. Okay. Just like this. All right, take the other screw back out. The thread locker. Okay, get that screw back in. All right, we're done with the thread locker. We're gonna now switch back over to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver, and we're gonna put these little things back in. So just get that lined up. Oops, I'm putting it backwards. Okay, get that lined up like that. Get the screw in, and there we go. And we're going to do that on both sides, of course. Okay, don't forget the other one. Oh, and also don't forget the little rubber piece here. So that, if you're wondering, this part that sticks out goes closer towards the center. Okay, so we're going to do this side, same thing. Get the rubber piece there, and drop that into place. Tighten that into place. Good. Get the rubber piece, stick that back on. Okay, and last but not least, we're now going to reconnect the battery, power it up, and make sure everything works. Oh, sorry, almost forgot. Don't forget this LCD LVDS connector, very important. If you forget this, you're going to have no display. So get that, line it up, and pull that into place. Put the latch down. Make sure that this cable isn't on top of this metal piece here. Okay, you don't want to smash that in the cover or you can damage the LCD connector. Right, so make sure that's in, pulled nicely. All right, and let's go ahead and reconnect the battery. So just line it up. It helps sometimes to just do one corner first, like this. Oops, sorry. Work your way over and then click it down. Okay, let's zoom out. We're almost done. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to put the bottom cover back on. Sorry, I know it's wobbling around. Okay, so we're going to now put the bottom cover back on. Just flip it over, click it into place. Flip it over. We're going to do a PRAM and SMC reset. Make sure everything is working. Once we confirm everything is good, then we will go ahead and put the remaining screws. So to do a PRAM or SMC reset, you don't technically have to plug it in, but we're going to plug it in first. Okay. Then you should see this light is orange. I don't know if you can see. Control Option Shift on the left side. When you push the power button, it'll go green. Okay. And then it should go back to orange. Again, I don't know if you can see. It's hard to, it's so far zoomed out. Let's see. Can you even see the light here? Not really. Okay, it's showing low battery right now, but anyways, let's try it. Control Option Shift, power button. You can see it goes green, and then it goes back to orange. So we're probably gonna have to let this charge a bit because it's showing that. So I'm gonna have to leave that charging. I guess I'll leave the stickers and stuff on it in case it doesn't charge and I might have to return it or maybe get a discount because I have to replace the battery. But let's see, the battery should be good. It's probably just been sitting a while and it drained. Let's try pushing the power button and see if anything happens. Okay, it's showing low battery. So I'm gonna let that charge up for a bit. To do a PRAM reset, your computer does have to boot up. Basically what you do is you push the power button and immediately hold Command Option P and R. You'll hear the boot chime and then you should hear the boot chime a second time while you're holding this. Once you hear the second chime, you can let go, and you've done a PRAM reset. A lot of people ask if they have to do it. You don't technically have to do anything, but again, it takes a few seconds and it'll make your computer run better. So just do that, and it doesn't delete any of your data or anything like that. So there's nothing to worry about other than taking the few seconds to do that. Alright, so let's go ahead and put back the remaining screws. So these are the P5 or Pentalobe 1.2 screws. And that's pretty much it. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Again, these are customer computers, so keep that in mind. I won't have these computers by the time you see the video, so I can't really make other content, and also because it's my customers' computers, I'm not supposed to just take apart random stuff that's not part of their repair, because there are risks involved, even though it doesn't seem risky. I've had some where some wireless cards, they're not soldered well, and the antenna mounted to the wireless card would just tear off. So keep that in mind. Even though it comes out easily in most cases, there are some risks involved. So yeah, anyways, that's pretty much all there is to it. Most likely I'm gonna have to let the battery charge. Almost dropped the screwdriver in the screw. Most likely I'll have to let the battery charge for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes before I can even power it back on. So yeah, I'm probably not gonna record that portion, but that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's see if it will turn on one more time, but if it doesn't, then it doesn't. So I'm going to hold. Nope. Okay, it's still complaining about low battery. Alright, anyways, thanks for watching. See you all in the next one. Let's drop this.